Let's do this. Wonderful. All right. So what we're going to do today is sort of a modification with a few extras for lead generation 3612.3. So the material we're going to talk about today comes from a Keller Williams course called Lead Generation 3612.3. I would recommend that you have a copy of the student manual for lead generation. Hi, how are you doing? Please come on in. I was hoping you would come. So does anybody know what 3612.3 refers to? What that phrase means? 3612.3. It's not a biblical reference. It's not a. It's not an element. It's not a touches. No, you're warm, but a little touchy. 36 transactions in 12 months, 3 hours a day of lead generation. 3 hours a day of lead generation. 36 transactions. And the reason, if I were you, I would download the outline, which I'm going to show you, is that this is essentially Keller Williams' main manual for lead generation. It explains how to do stuff, right? Anyhow, you'll see. So this is number 7, and lead generation action plan. My goal for doing this is, for some of you, you're closing transactions left and right, but my goal is that everybody that will close a transaction by the end of the year, right? That doesn't have one already in escrow, right? And one of the things that we're going to start doing every month is we're going to have a big open house extravaganza every month, and we're going to call it, what would be a catchy line for it? It was in the email I sent out to everybody the other day, which nobody reads. I know. I'm looking at Roberta. When I say that. It's called Paint the Town Red. Right, and so the idea is going to be that once a month, we're going to get everybody to do open houses as much as we can, so that we have more signs, we have more energy. We're going to actually have more clinics on how to do an open house. Matt and I are going to use the big flat table and set up what we think an open house ought to look like. Now, I've been talking to people because, I coach people, and one of the questions that I have is a lot of the agents that I'm talking to have issues involving, what do I say? What am I doing? Am I on track? Do I know what to say? And my question always is, do you have an accountability partner? You did. Did they die, or did you? She stopped calling you. That's always a bad sign. So would it be useful for you to have somebody that 3 times, 4 times a week, maybe, even once a week, you practice scripts with? Yes, would that be a good idea? Would it be misery loves company? Isn't that the idea? Right, if you had somebody that you were checking in with on a weekly basis, would you be more likely to do stuff? Right, those of you that are in my coaching program are being pressured to meet with me weekly. Right, I know that because I've got my minions are working on that. And I do know that if every week you met with somebody, if it was me or somebody else or both of us, you'd be more likely to do stuff. You'd have somebody that you could practice scripts on. Do you have an accountability partner? You realize that if you take any major real estate agent training program, you realize that Buffini or Stump, any of them, the Ferries, any of them, they're going to, does everybody know what I meant when I said the Ferries? Right, just to make sure. There's a guy named Mike Ferry, F-E-R-R-Y, and his son Tom Ferry, who are competing against each other in the real estate seminar business. Yes, they don't seem to like each other. But I remember before Tom Ferry existed, when it was just the old guy. And so anyhow, they all, by the way, do you understand, they're all going to say you ought to have an accountability partner. Right, if you take Keller Williams Ignite training, they're going to say you ought to have accountability partner. You take our lead generation training, we're going to say you ought to have accountability. I'm saying maybe you ought to have an accountability partner. My wife, that would require a wife, right? That's to me, the downside of that. And I think wives fall more into the life coach category than accountability partner, right? That's my theory, right? One, I'm going to skip this one because I'm going to go on to something else. Let me just say this plainly, all right? Let me just be, everybody says, pretty much everybody says they know how to do open houses. So I talk to people that are doing open houses, and I've talked to people who said, well, I've done 10, 15, 20 open houses, don't have any leads, no leads. You're doing something wrong, right? I'm just telling you, if you do 4 open houses, you should have a lead, right? If you do an open house every weekend, one day, Saturday, Sunday, one day, every week, you could easily produce a client a month. You certainly could do 8 transactions if you aggressively did an open house. You could cap by doing open houses, right? Do you understand there are some Keller Williams agents, if you go to family reunion or mega camp, that their thing is open houses. You know that who's the #1 producing real estate agent / team in Santa Clara County? Yeah, the whole county. No, Dave Clark is like 4th. He's not, just in general, not in Keller Williams. What? It's a team. Of course, Dave Clark's a team. No, Bob doing better than Boyenga's. Clearly at the top. No, way better than Cocotan. North, De Leon. Do you know where De Leon came from? He was a lawyer from... Right, but do you know where De Leon came from, where he learned real estate? What, where? No, he was on a Keller Williams Mega Camp panel when I first went to Mega Camp. He came from Keller Williams. So De Leon has the #1 team in the Bay Area. Has anybody been to one of his open houses? What? Trendy. So what was he doing at his open house? Food. What kind of food? Good food? Yeah, very good food, sandwich, snack, not snack, sandwich, a salad, and then a cappuccino to drink. Yeah, he had a barista outside or inside? Inside. Sometimes in the garage. Depends on where. If it is, of course, those in the high-end area. Right. That's true. Well, this is a poor guy. He's doing all this business in Los Altos and Palo Alto. I know, but the point I'm trying to make is he's done his open houses stand out, right? You understand? I mean, they're better than yours or mine. Is that true? I think so. Do you think so? Do you have a barista? You have a barista at your open houses? So, but do you think that makes an impression on buyers and sellers? When neighbors, you think it makes an impression on people, right? Because he's way better prepared than you are, right? I'm saying go to one of his open houses and you'll see what I mean. You're way better prepared. And so he's doing more leads than we probably are. Isn't that right? So what we want to do, my point is that if you became really good at doing open houses and you did open houses every weekend and you did them in a way that was special, you too could, I'm not saying that's all De Leon does, but you too could be making $100,000 a year simply from doing open houses. Do you realize that you could make $100,000 a year just by doing, how many transactions would you have to close to make $100,000 after paying the company? 5. Right. How about this? You could even at 10, could you do 10 transactions a year if you did open houses every weekend and you did a good job and you got a lead at 1 out of every 4? 1 out of every 4. Should you track how many people are going to your open houses, how many conversations did you have, and how many leads did you get? If there's an issue, maybe we could talk about it, right? Do you understand? Because either I hear all the issues, like there's too many people, they showed up, and I didn't have a chance to talk to anybody. Why didn't you have another agent? Well, I didn't want to lose any leads to somebody else. but you just told me you didn't get any leads because there was too many people and you couldn't talk to anyone. Right. But you didn't have another agent there because it doesn't make, it would be better to have, I'd rather have I only want one lead, right? You understand at an open house? One. That's all I'm not fussy, just one good lead for every open house. That's all I want. That's all I want. So I wouldn't mind if there were 4 agents there. I wouldn't mind if I had agents that spoke different languages at my open house. I've done that in the past. I had a brochure. I had not one of every kind of language speaker you could have in Santa Clara County, but all the major ones were covered. And is it true that there may be somebody that wants to speak to an agent in Chinese, and there's some that want to do it in Indian, and you get the idea. All right, so what am I? Open houses are the easiest, simplest, fastest, and cheapest way to grow your business. Easiest, simplest, fastest, cheapest. Huh? So this comes from 3612.3, which is the lead generation model going from validity and positioning, and these are the pillars. Right, the database, marketing, and prospecting is the foundation of a real estate career. The pillars, which is where are you getting your business from? Working with people you know, farming, open houses, for sale by owners and expireds, and agent referrals are the main pillars. All right, but what you're at an open house to sell the house or pick up buyers and sellers? And the answer is both. However, which is the most important part? What? To get a seller? To get the seller. Right. I like that. Right. I just want sellers. So would we want to sell the house? Right. All right. Both. One of the worst things that can happen to you as a real estate agent when you're new is to do an open house, have somebody come into the open house and buy the house. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you, because what it oftentimes does is warp the agent's perspective. And now what you're doing is looking for people to buy the house, right? And guess what? I've been selling real estate since, and one time I've had somebody walk into my open house and buy it. Now I've met people that have bought houses. I've had people walk in and buy it, but not from me, right? You understand? Right? I've had people walk in that had agents and they bought my listing, but I'm saying one time I had somebody walk into an open house and say, wow, I want to make an offer, and I wrote up the offer and it was accepted, right? One time in 30 some years, one time. So if your one time is your first open house, you understand, this becomes the idea. And the reality is that most of the people that go to open houses are not going to buy that house. And the other reality is that people that make offers on a house at an open house are unlikely to work with you as an agent if they don't get the offer accepted. It's a one-time deal. You wrote in because the only reason you're writing that offer for them is because you're attached to the house. If any other agent had been attached to the house, they'd be writing the offer. You understand? Guess who's going to write the offer on the next open house they go to? Whoever is there, right? So the only way you're going to really get good business from doing open houses is to get them out of that house and into the office for an appointment, which we're going to talk about. So, interesting statistics from the National Association of Realtors. 100 buyers. Now, this is a little bit out of date. The numbers have gone up a little bit, but the ratios haven't changed very much. 47 out of 100 buyers go to an open house. How do we know that? The National Association of Realtors asked buyers, how did you find, what were your information sources? What did you do? 47, do you understand that 50% back, this was in 2008 when they did this last survey. I do have a copy of the 2015. It's not hugely different. Right, but you understand there are people that buy homes that never go to open houses. So if 100 buyers, 47 of them in that year went to an open house to find, 7 buyers will use an agent from the open house. How do they know that? They asked people, how did you find the agent that you're working with? And 7% said, I met him at an open house. right? So that means 40 buyers don't, you're not representing them, nobody's representing them, somebody else is representing them, right? You understand, out of 7% is the percentage of people that find their agent at an open house. 7%. Now, that may not sound like a huge percent, but it's enough of a percent for you to work with. I know, because I are one of them, I know that experienced agents don't like to do open houses. There are people that I'm coaching that have not done 10 transactions in their life that are tired of open houses. Right? You understand? They haven't done 10 deals in their entire career, and they're sick of doing open houses already. You understand? So there are a lot of people, you understand that 7% you could leverage because a lot of the good agents aren't fighting for it. All right. So open houses are only for new agents looking for buyers. Tell Ken DeLeon that open houses are only for new agents looking for buyers, right? Experienced agents, there are, if you go to Mega Camp and Family Reunion, you will see Keller Williams teams that do virtually nothing but open houses as their prospecting. And they have huge, you understand, balloons and banners and buses that, you know, literally there are agents, and there are some in San Jose that are doing this, that the group has enough listings that they actually create their own tour bus for the weekends. And they drive people around in their bus to look at homes in a tour. I don't know if you've had that happen, but experienced agents, right? I don't have any listings, so I can't hold an open house. Now, many of you have heard me say this. I don't know if I have to do it again. I think I've recorded it several times. But if I were you, I would start by looking at all of the Keller Williams listings that are in Santa Clara County. And what I've done, and by I mean my assistant Raw, is we put together a list of broker codes, right? How many of you know what I'm talking about? And so the broker codes are a list of all the Keller Williams offices that in fact might have a listing in our area. And so, where are my broker codes? So the idea is that you, I guess I'm not going to demonstrate. The idea, I have way too many files. The idea is that you identify all the Keller Williams offices, all the Keller Williams listings in Santa Clara County. This is a starting point. You could send them an email. I have a draft, but the email that somebody, by the way, in one of my classes wrote down what I said. This always shocks me. It does. It's always upsetting when people write down what I say and actually do something with it. It's so unusual. And what they did is they transcribed it into an email, and the email goes something like this. Hi, I see you have listed a house at address. Congratulations. Looks like a great property. I would be honored if I could do an open house for you. By the way, this is how I do an open house. Number one, I research all the properties that are for sale in the neighborhood. I go look at all the competition. I'm going to run a Craigslist ad. I'm going to create an event in Facebook. I'm going to boost the event in Facebook. I'm going to knock on 100 doors of the neighbors. I'm going to invite the neighbors to come to the open house. I'm going to arrive early. There's going to be lots of signs. There's going to be food. There's going to be a lender there to answer questions. We're going to have professional flyers made. Before we're done at the open house, I'm going to be texting you as the listing agent, telling you what happened, how many people came through, what they thought, what all the feedback was, so you will not have to hunt me down. I'm not going to break anything. I'm not going to leave any doors open. I'm not going to leave any lights on. You will be happy with the result. And so what some agents have done is they've taken that email or a draft or something like that, and they've just emailed it to everybody with a listing in Keller Williams. And by the way, most of the agents that are doing that are doing open houses. Okay? I mean, just now it's easier, and my broker codes is a list that we put together of all the Keller Williams offices that have ever had a listing in Santa Clara County. And so you take that list and you put it in as a search and you're going to find them. The other thing that I recommend that you do is go beyond Keller Williams offices. Find offices that have listings that are vacant. Vacant listings are really easy to do open houses on. You can find other agents that will let you do the open house. If you persevere, you could do open houses every weekend, right? I believe the last time I looked, there were several, like 600 vacant homes in Santa Clara County, 600. Right? Are some of those listed by agents that don't live in Santa Clara County? Do you think they want to drive here to do an open house? I would do it at Mondays. Right. Sometimes agents don't put it into the MLS until Wednesday. Sometimes they don't put it into the MLS until Friday because they're real estate agents. And that's what you do. Right. But yeah. Right. And you need enough time. So is it possible for you to show us how to on the MLS that we can search up? Yeah, I wanted your slide. I guess I will. I guess I will. I might. I just might. What the only hard part of this, you have to add a broker code at the bottom, and by adding an advanced search field. And for my friends up in Santa Rosa, it's a different software, but and I don't know. All right. Yes, yeah, that's one of that's. So we're going to go to matrix search, and I'm going to find my broker codes and copy them. Oops, copy them, and then there we go. And then I want active listings. Single-family homes are better. Single-family homes are better. I only want it to be in Santa Clara County. I don't want to go anyplace else. And down here, I've added, by adding and removing additional fields, listing office broker code, and I paste in that list, and I don't know why it's not giving me more. No listings were found. So I don't know why it's not giving me any results. Because I don't know. I've done this before, and anybody knows the average duration a house stays in the market prior to being sold? Yes, about 15. About 15 to 19, it varies depending on, all right, so what I'm going to do, days. The typical house is sold in Santa Clara County within 30 days of going on the market. All right, so let's just try this again. Active, single-family homes, Santa Clara. And then we go down here. There's only 1,132 listing, 86. Okay, it's working. I hit the clear button. So according to my list of broker codes, there are 86 single-family homes listed in Santa Clara County by Keller Williams. 86. And if you, since we're doing this, this is all part of my system, but there's a way of exporting by creating a custom export, exporting the contact information of the listing agent, the street address of the property, their email address, and creating an email merge so that you could send the email to all those people. Right. It involves an export of the data. So if we sent out 86 emails, is there a chance we might find somebody that had a Keller Williams listing that we could hold open? And if we don't find anything, so as we progress, as you get better at this, you might be saying, well, I only want to work a particular area. And there's a value in that you become an area specialist and you get to know the area and you can talk about the area and you know the other listings. So let's say I'm going to take out this, right? I'm going to take out the broker codes. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down and I'm going to click on vacant. And what I want, there's 408 vacant single-family homes in Santa Clara County. 408 vacant homes in Santa Clara County. If we looked at those 400, are we likely to find agents that are not from Santa Clara County who have the listings? Answer is we're going to find maybe 150, 20, more than enough. And what that would then give us, these people, the 99% of the time, they're going to say do an open house. Why not? They don't want to drive over and do it. It's vacant. They don't have to make any kind of concessions with the seller. And then as you progress, pretty soon you become more fearless and you get rid of the vacant. And now you say to yourself, all right, I don't want any of that. So what I want is I just want active listings, single family homes, and I only want to work, let's just say, Morgan Hill and Gilroy. And there's 187 listings in Morgan Hill and Gilroy. Now notice these aren't just vacant and they're not just Keller Williams. Is there a chance that I could find an agent not from Keller Williams that's not vacant, that has a listing that wants somebody else to do the open house? My maximum on my listings were 2. I would do 2 open houses and then I was done. Michael, would you mind repeating people's questions? I can't hear it. All right, Mimi, thank you. Somebody was asking me to repeat your questions. So everybody repeat their questions. Never mind. All right, so 187. So if and by the way, are there certain price ranges that sell better than others? Would we be, so we know single family homes within certain price bands are more likely to sell. Why not do open houses in those price bands? Why not? Right now, this is a little more competitive because we're talking about agents that live in the area. But I'm telling you, after 2 open houses, most listing agents are done. Right? You know, after 2, they're done. I didn't want to do, I had 15 listings at one time and I didn't do any open houses. I thought that was great. Perfect. Right? Listing agents generally don't want to, not when they get busy. Right? Isn't that? So my point would be is out of 187, is there a likelihood that we could find an open house every weekend in Morgan Hill and Gilroy? You think so? At 187, somebody would like me to do an open house. Right? So let's talk about, we're going to move through this a little bit quicker. There's a handout that goes with this. However, I'm going to get it. Agents sit open houses. Good agents work. So many real estate agents will tell you that open houses are a waste of time, right? I've gone into an open house. It's easy, either the guy is watching football at the couch, grunt over his, there are flyers over there, I've been to open houses where a woman was reading a novel, right, sitting there, people reading newspapers, doing stuff on their computer, disinterested in anyone coming to the open house. That's not the way to get business from an open house. So they produce buyers, sellers, and referrals. Do you have a goal? You got a goal. Do you have a goal to do 3 open houses a month, 4 open houses a month, 5 open houses a month? Do you have a goal? 3 open houses a month, 2 open houses a month? Do you do everything to get a lot of people there? Are you doing it consistently? Do you team up? That's what we're talking about. I'm going to get everybody in the coaching program. I'm ordering a bunch more open house signs, but we're going to all hold open houses at the same time, right? And if I can arrange it in similar areas. Let's see, open house model. 1, prepare and promote. Qualify leads, build trust, follow up, and be the #1 market agent. Oh. So you have a goal, you've decided, staging the house. You don't have, this outline was originally designed for people that had listings. So you may have limited options regarding this. But as time goes on, if this was your listing, you'd be wanting to talk about it. prepare to build relationships, prepare to be the neighborhood and market expert. What would that mean? So I'm doing an open house, let's say, in 95123 zip code. What would that mean to be the neighborhood expert? Know all the schools. Know which high school. Do people care about the high school connected to the house, really? I'm supposed to know that? Floor plans? What else should I know about the neighborhood? I should know about the schools. What else? What? Parks? Parks? Groceries? Upcoming construction? I had a client from Google say that the house had to be walking distance to Pete's Coffee. Rivermark. Not 9512, it was a different zip code. I sold him a home walking distance from here on Rivermark. Right? It was wonderful because we were at the house and he said, looks great, where's Pete's? And so I got to say, why don't we walk there and go through the contract? And he said, sounds great. Right? Wonderful. All right, so we would want to know about the neighborhood, we'd want to know about the parks, we'd like to know what's happening in the area, we would like to know about entertainment, we'd like to know about schools. What would it mean to be the market expert? Know it's sold, active. How about all the other homes that are currently on the market that are being held open? Would it be a good idea if you actually went and looked at them? So that you could intelligently talk about why that house looks better than that house. What? Yeah, the problem is with the broker tour is you only see the properties on the broker tour. Right, and that may or may not be the one you're doing open. Are most properties on broker tour? There's 1,300 active listings right now in Santa Clara County, single family homes. How many of them have been on tour in the last month? Yeah, not 1,000, more like 100. Right, so the vast majority. So would we want to go look at all the other homes that are in the neighborhood? Right, so that you can explain what's the difference between this one and that one. Yes, would it be better if we've actually seen the homes that have sold and closed in that neighborhood? The reality is we were talking about building relationships. Why would somebody want to meet with you? Why would somebody want to come into the office and talk to you? What is it that you have that they want? See, this is the audience participation part. This is where you. So why do buyers want to work with a particular real estate agent? Number one is market knowledge. When it's obvious, you know what's going on in that market. You know that the difference between that one and that one is that one actually was attached. They're exactly the same model, the same square footage, but it's attached to another building. This one, same model, same square footage, but it's not attached. That's a big difference, right? You understand? You know all that. The second reason somebody would want to meet with you is because you understand real estate financing and know options that they're unfamiliar with. So as we're going through a checklist here, how many of you would say that the areas you've been doing open houses, you're intimately familiar with the homes that have sold, you've seen most of them, you've seen the pending sales, you've seen the closed sales, you know that market? Now, my guess is that very few people would raise their hand to that question. Most people get lost if they didn't have Waze or Google Maps, they wouldn't have found the open house in the first place, let alone know the neighborhood. Right? You understand that? So let's go through the list. Why would somebody want to meet with you? Number one, because you know the market better than anyone else they've met. That may not be you. Number two, because you know real estate financing better than anyone else they met. That may not be you. May not be you. Right? Right? You may not be able to converse about the different types of loan programs and answer people's questions in such a way that they would want to spend more time with you. What else? Why else? We've got financing, we've got knowledge of the market. You also could simply pitch them on why there's a value in them being represented and having an agent. This is what I call the how to get the good buy, how to get the best deal in buying a home in today's market. But you're going to need to be prepared for that. All right, we're going to talk about that. And be safe. This is another reason why it's good to bring people. So you should be calculating how many leads do you want to get. I know 1,000. but how many of, you ought to be, in your goals, how many of the people that you haven't met are you going to convert to Mets? Now, sometimes you have to track so that you can end up with a, I know agents that'll say, every time I do an open house, I add 5 people to my database. I do an open house, I add 5 people to my database. I know that. That's my average. Sometimes I owe 10, sometimes it's 2. Well, that would give us, so if we have database goals and we know how many we're getting from open houses, we can know, right, how many open houses we have to work in a certain time in order to produce the leads that we need to get the appointments we need to get closings that we want from open houses. Did that just make sense what I said? Okay. High traffic area. So at the beginning, I would do open houses anywhere I could for anything until you get good at it, right? And then once you, we might as well practice on the others, but once you get good at it, I would become fussier about where I do the open houses. Like you want to have a house that people are likely to find. Special features, nice neighborhood, curb appeal, staging. What questions will you ask your guests to build rapport? Now, we're back to the script practice. There's lots of scripts with Keller Williams. I've written some of my own. I'm going to show you where you can get your hands on them fairly easily. Those of you that have heard me do the open house class know I ask the same questions every time. Right? I mean, you can find videos of me that go back a really long time, and I'm asking exactly the same questions at the open house. All right? So when somebody comes into the open house, I might say, hey, are you folks from the neighborhood, or are you out looking at homes to buy? Right? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is to call, are they neighbors that own a house, or are they potential buyers? They say, well, we're looking at homes today. Wonderful, come on in. What was it about this one that caught your eye? Well, it said in Craigslist that you have a dog kennel, and we got dogs, so we're looking for a house with a dog kennel. Cool. How long have you been looking for a house with a dog kennel? Well, we've been looking for a couple of months now. Really, that's great. How many homes with dog kennels have you actually seen? Oh, we've seen probably 10 or 15. Why haven't you bought one yet? Oh, well, you know, there were several we liked, but by the time we, you know, got around, somebody had already bought it, or we were outbid. Now, do you understand what I've accomplished at that question is we've uncovered a problem in the system that they're using to find a house. Right? They haven't got one yet. They're still at an open house. Are you working with an agent yet? Right? That's the next question I ask. If they say several, that's a no. If they say yes, wonderful. That's great. So do you have like an exclusive arrangement with this agent? Like you signed something in writing that you won't work with any other real estate agent? Is that what, I mean, I guess what I'm asking you is this. If I happen to find a house that fits your needs, that's in your neighborhood, in the right price range, are you saying to me, you don't even want me to contact you and tell you about it because you already have a real estate agent? Is that what you're saying? Don't you want to hear about it? Now, most people at this point are backing away from I have a real estate agent, right? And they're saying, well, actually, yeah, if you had one that was really good, we'd like to know about it. Wonderful. So much for the real estate agent, right? Because they didn't make an exclusive commitment and they haven't signed anything in writing, and yes, they still want us to, fine, we move on, right? Do you currently rent or do you own?
Do they come with their
pets?
Pets? Yes, like to the house. Do they come with the dog?
We're talking about, some people bring pets, some people bring pets to open houses. Yes, yes, yes.
Gotta know if the pet's gonna like the house.
Right.
But would you allow them to, let's say, a dog?
What would you do? It depends on the dog, it depends on the people, it depends on whether or not the seller's out of town and unlikely to come by, right? You know, you know, it depends on how nice the seller was the last time I talked to her, right? You know, it depends. So do you currently rent or do you own? Is that a good question? We rent. Great. Month to month, fixed term lease, fixed term lease. When's it up? March 2017. So what do we give up? Are there waiting lists for most rentals? Yes. So if somebody gets out of a rental early, is the landlord required to mitigate damages and try and find another tenant? Yes. Is it hard for them to find tenants right now? No. So they might lose a month's rent. Maybe. Might. They might. All right. Would you be willing to invest? Notice I didn't say pay, spend. Invest 1 month's worth of rent to get the house you want. All right. Cool. All right. So if we find the right one, you're willing to move. If they say, well, absolutely not, no, we're going to wait for our lease to expire, are you going to spend all next weekend showing these people homes, none of which will be on the market when their lease expires? No. What else? So has anyone ever shared with you a strategy for getting the best deal possible when buying a home in today's market? Has anyone ever done that? Sat down with you and gone through a strategy? Really? No, you've never had a strategy session. You realize in a market like we're in today, you need a strategy to buy anything. And if you want to get a good deal, you're going to need to get a good strategy. You're going to need to have a good strategy. And I don't know what happened to it. There we go. There's a comment, and I can't read it because my computer is just not. Pete's is better than thanks. Thanks, Jamal. Thanks for that. So has anyone ever said that? Are you serious about buying a home? These are the questions I'd always ask people. Well, are you serious about buying a home? Would you say you're serious about buying a home? They say, yeah, we're serious about it. Do you want to get the best deal possible? Are you looking to get a good deal? Yeah. And you're serious. Well, if you're serious and you want to get the best deal possible, the starting point ought to be you ought to come into the office and we ought to go through a session on how to get the best deal possible when buying a home in the market like we're in today. Doesn't that sound like a good place to start? Won't cost anything, doesn't take very long. It'll save you tens of thousands of dollars, save you time and money. You're going to get more house for less money. Isn't that the goal? They say yes. Great. Are weekdays or weekends better for you to meet? Weekend, Saturday or Sunday? Saturday, morning or afternoon? Afternoon. 1, 2, 3, pick one. Do you understand what we've done is we haven't given the person a chance to say no. Weekdays or weekends. Morning or afternoon, right? You understand there's no, and now we have them in our calendar. This is the goal. The goal of the open house is not to collect their name, email address, and phone number. The goal is not to collect their name, email address, and phone number. The goal is to make an appointment. Does everybody understand that? If you make an appointment, are they going to tell you their real name? Oh, by the way, can I get an email address so I could send you the information in advance so that it'll save time when we meet? Would that be okay? What's the best email for you? All right. I might need to call. Can I get your phone number just in case something comes up and I need to reach you? What's the good phone number? Now, do you understand, since they're making an appointment with me, it's logical for them to tell me their email address and their phone number. But if they just walk in and it's been 1 minute, they walked in and I'm pushing them over to sign a sign-in sheet, do they have any reason to tell me their real name, real phone number, or real email address? If I give you my real phone number, what are you going to do if you're the real estate agent? Call me. I don't want you. So Mimi is asking, what if it's a long ways away? I do. Most of the clients that I meet with is in Morgan Hill. We don't have an office in Morgan Hill. And I meet with people. There's a particular coffee shop in Morgan Hill I like, and I meet people there. And by the way, even I have met people at coffee shops and wrote offers when we were walking distance to the office. It's a neutral ground. So you don't need to worry about that, Mimi. It could be a coffee shop. All right. So, but a good question. So, by the way, did you notice that I wasn't reading those questions off? I remembered you can find videos of me that go back a long time, and it's the same questions worded almost exactly the same way. I record all these. I have it printed out. All right. We'll have to talk about coaching someday. All right. Would it be good that you knew what you were going to ask people, that you had a plan? Of course. How will you tell the neighborhood history? Do you know the neighborhood history? Do you know the name of the builder? Do you know who the builders are? Do you know anything about the builders? What would you want to know? This is sometimes called reverse thinking, or this is where if I were the buyer, what would I want to know about the place? Have you prepared an information package? Do you have packages to give people about the neighborhood, stuff they could take with them? Yeah.
So Mike,
Yes.
I've heard some people say, don't give them something, have them email it.
Yeah.
That forces them to give you an email.
Right, but then they may not.
And then they may not.
Right, so I would hand it to them. The question, Mimi, was, what about people that, isn't it better to get their phone number and email and send it to them? The answer would be yes, but I'd rather hand them stuff if they're not going to do it. Right, and so we want their name and their phone number and their email address so we can call them, spam them, and hound them. Isn't that what we want? Right, that's what we want. Is that what they want? No. So maybe we shouldn't be as confrontive right now, right? Let them take it. Well, do we need everybody or just one good lead, right? Just one. Safety, right? Even though I didn't feel unsafe, I generally had another agent with me when I did an open house. I didn't do it for safety reasons. I did it because if somebody wanted to go look at another home, I could go show it to them while the open house was still alive with an agent there. I would explain to whoever it was we were with, we'll split it. How about that? Is that okay? Are you cool to wait behind if we'll split whatever we get? Usually they say, sure, go show them a house, right? But do you have pepper spray? No. Do you have any kind of security systems? Safety devices? You got your key. Yeah. But this is something to think about. What about it? Do you wear them on your forehead?
Well, I have that phone, like the Arlo one, which is connected to cloud.
Well, you can do what you want. Yeah, I just use nanny cams and put them in the room. Yeah, just, right. Sometimes it's better to have someone else. Right, I'm just saying. Preparing for an open house, what do buyers want to know? What do sellers want to know? Right, now, some of you will see in my office a big cardboard thing cut out. What it will do is stand on a desk. I have an easel where I could put it on an easel. So is there information that buyers would want that you could put on an easel? School rankings? Should you have a report on school rankings? Does everybody know how you can get a school ranking report easy? Yeah, and so would people be interested in knowing if prices are going up or down, days on market up or down, types of finance? You understand? So if we created an easel or a couple of them with displays, are people going to linger more at the open house? Are they more likely to engage us in conversation? You do understand that's what the food and coffee is about at Daily Knot, right? You understand? Because you're more like, I used to do this thing in the summer where I'd give people ice cream. Right? So we had ice cream at the open house. And then I had all these containers of like Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And when people were friendly, I would give them a container of the ice cream as a present. Now, the problem is that it's a frozen ice cream. So what do you need to do? If I gave you a box of frozen ice cream, what would you do with it? Eat it right now. And Mimi says she leaves fake phone numbers and email addresses. What you do, Mimi, is if there's someone you don't like, you write down their name, phone number, and email, and go sign in at every real estate agent's open house. Yeah, and just go. So where's the sign-in sheet? And you print nice and clear, and say immediately, I want to buy a house. Yes, I have one to sell. And then, so most real estate agents show up for an open house and they're lucky to have a flyer. Is that true? I remember I was a new agent I'm doing an open house for somebody else. I show up late, you know, because it was late. I didn't know how to get there. I had to put up signs. So I show up, it's at 1 o'clock. People are standing outside wanting to go in, right? They're already waiting. So I'm unlocking the door. It took me 5 minutes to find the lockbox because they had hidden it around the side in the bushes. So finally I find that this is great. They're watching me hunt for the lockbox, right? So I find the lockbox, I'm opening up the door, and this guy says, so how many bedrooms? I said 3. So we're walking in. Oh, there's apparently a bonus bedroom. There were 4. I'd never seen the house, right? I didn't really know how many bedrooms there were. So they say, oh, how old is the house? I didn't know. What's the elementary school? You're lucky I opened the door. How about that, right? You're lucky. So, but do you think that sounds unusual, what I just described? Do you think that sounds unusual, right? So being prepared, showing up early. Should you prospect or should you market? Prospecting is proactively seeking leads. Marketing is passively attracting leads. What's an example of prospecting for an open house? Visiting the neighbors. And what would be an example of marketing for the open house? Sending out postcards, Facebook ads. All right. So your competitor, the power of signage, your competitor has dominant market share. So you've got a listing and these are your competitors' listings, and you put up all those open house signs. All right, who looks like they have more going on in that particular area? You do. So I've lost many of them over the years. I still have Century 21 open house signs if anybody wants to buy them. I still have a bunch of them, but I would put out more than 20 signs everywhere. I mean, everywhere. But let me be clear. I had a guy who has a van and a trailer who puts out the open house signs and takes them down every weekend. Let's start with that. Right? So I hired somebody to put them up and take them down because I didn't want to do it. I didn't even want to do the open house, let alone that. So if you have 20 open house signs, you understand how great that advertising is? Again, let's say we were doing the open houses in a particular geographic area that we wanted to specialize in. All right? We become better at this. Would they see our signs over and over and over again? One of the things that I even admit on tape, although I'm not sure I should, is I was doing an open house in Blossom Valley. Yes, please. Scream at them, yell at them. Roberta, yell at them. Tell them louder. All right. So I was doing open houses in Blossom Valley where I farmed. I put the signs up early and they came down late. And it's the best advertising. Does it cost anything to put up open house signs? No. Now you lose them, by the way. You know, over time. Yeah. So one weekend I didn't have any listings to do an open house, and so I did something I'm not completely proud of. Actually, I kind of am. I put up all my open house signs one weekend when I did not have an open house. I just had arrows pointing everywhere. Just all, you know, they'd be, and somebody actually called me and said, I can't find the house, you know, and the guy said, you know, those kids are always turning the signs around so no one can find anything. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's it. Right, but you understand, I didn't want the people that live there not to see my signs that weekend. Correct? So if you have 20 open house signs, does it look like you have more listings in the area than somebody that has more listings but only 5 open house signs? Brand yourself. You should have your name on the open house sign. It doesn't hurt to have your picture. Keller Williams, we think you're the brand. Prove it to us. Right? Be sure to put your name in large print. People will see your name over and over again. Would this be diminished if I did an open house one weekend in Milpitas, the next weekend in Hollister, the next weekend in Mountain View, the next weekend in Blossom Valley, the next weekend in San... Did you understand? I'm getting no momentum at all doing that. All right? All right. So, yeah, sign placement. You want to have as many of them as possible. You ought to follow the rules of the sign ordinances or you'll lose signs. My signs have been held prisoner by several police departments. Oh yeah, they'll take them and then you have to come and pick them up. Yeah, it's okay. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. It's just, they don't fine you usually. They just hold it as a hostage for a while. I've never heard that. Usually the BRE number is not required on open house signs. Is it a new law?
It is a new law, but I think it's only if you're using a DBA.
All right. Doing business as a fictitious business name. So let's say you created a team and you called yourselves the Silicon Valley Real Estate Success Group, right? I know it's kind of short, but if you put that on your sign, the Bureau of Real Estate will get mad at you because they're going to say, do we have a license that has been issued to the Silicon Valley Real Estate Group? No. So we're confused. Who is that? And the law says you're supposed to identify yourself as an agent and you're not that. That's a different entity. So that's, if you're a broker, however, you could do this and create a DBA, but they still want your number on it, right? That's what they're saying. All right, how would you improve these signs to make them more effective? We're not going to do that now. Opportunities, everything, you ought to put them in the MLS, you ought to do internet marketing, you ought to do everything. Have you internalized your scripts? Do you understand if you're better at that, will you get more leads with the same number of open houses? If your conversion rate nudges up, right? You know, one of the things I talk to people about, I don't know why it wants to disappear. What do a DBA as a last name and company? Yeah, you could do that. And Mimi, the Bureau of Real Estate rules is that if you're not a broker and you use your surname, it's okay. So Devlin Real Estate Group is fine, right? Silicon Valley Real Estate Group, no, not fine, right? And written goals. Do you have goals? Do you have? So? Two golfers, professional golfers, played the same circuit. Pretty much went to the same tournaments every year. One golfer made a little over $1 million, and the other golfer made about $100,000. So these two professional golfers, this is a true story, playing at the same tournaments, almost identical. One of them makes 10 times as much as the other. One golfer makes 10 times as much as the other golfer. And when they analyzed the two golfers, what they found was the difference between them was 1/4 of a stroke a hole. That was it. 1/4 of a stroke a hole is what separated one person that was making 10 times as much as the other. Because the 1/4 of a stroke, when repeated hole after 18 holes, tournament after tournament after tournament, that 1/4 of a stroke a hole difference meant one person was making 10 times as much as the other. And what a lot of people in real estate don't realize, and by the way, this is sort of what the function of coaching is about, is that by improving your conversion ratios, do you understand you're picking up 1/4 of a stroke here and 1/4 of a stroke there? And the net effect could be a significant increase in your income. If you were better at what you said and did at an open house and you increased your conversion rate, would you make more money without doing more work? Right? Right. So do you understand that each step of our conversion rate goes up, we can end up making 10 times as much money without doing any more than we're doing right now in lead generation just because we're getting better at it. Look for clues on how you can meet their needs, motivating them. Ask about family, schools, what, where, why, when, and who. Balance your conversations, ask them a little bit of personal. You have to build rapport. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Ask your guests what market information they need, arrange a drop-off or send real estate information. Once they contribute, ask them to sign your guest book. Once you contribute to their needs, ask them to sign your guest book. Right? Many times I didn't have a guest book. I didn't care. I had an appointment book, but I didn't have a guest book. Because I realized that I wasn't going to follow up with anybody anyhow, because I was too lazy and disorganized. I just wasn't going to do it. So if I didn't make an appointment with them then, my percentage was very low. So I focused on making an appointment with them then and not following up. I had a non-follow-up policy with open houses. Because if I didn't make an appointment with them, I didn't bother with them, right? That wasn't how I started. That's how I ended up when I had a lot of listings, so I just didn't want to spend any extra time. Would you like to buy the house? This is a simple question. Now, I don't know. I always got away with this. I would say, so, you want to buy the house? I can't tell you how many times people have said, yeah, when I've asked this question. It's like, yeah. Okay. If not, other homes in the neighborhood, do you know of the other homes in the neighborhood? At the end of the tour, make an appointment to see this again, make notes. Basic open house scripts. Page 48 to 53 comes from the Lead Generation 36123 book, which you can download for free from kellerwilliams.com. Right? I'm not giving you the page, although I have it. I want you to go find it. Open house scripts and qualifying scripts, and you ought to do that. Update, what else do we want to do? The tragedy in life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It's an interesting concept that it's discussed in The One Thing as aiming high. So if I make a goal to do $300,000 in commission income and I only do $250,000, have I failed? Yep, failed. So if I made the goal of 500 and I did 3, would I have still failed? I don't know, right? Do you understand there's this, the line about aiming high is you aim high because you're more likely to hit something if you aim high, right? Because things drop. Aim high. What is your goal to becoming the #1 market agent? So what we would be concluding this with, and we're concluding this right now, is you got to put together an open house action plan. And by the way, the handout that goes with this is very good about open houses. And we suggest that you block 3 hours a day, preferably. By the way, I'd take an hour. I was going through this the other day with somebody, right? Depending on what your goals are, if you talk to 20 people a day, you could easily do 36 to 50 transactions a year. If you did an hour a day, that's from 3 hours a day. If you talk to 5 people a day, you could probably do 8 to 10 transactions. If you even talk to 2 people a day, you'd do something, right? So our point is, whether it's 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 30, I'll take 30 minutes. 30 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Call one person, just one call every day, one person. All right, by the way, if we did that, would we eventually be calling 2 people and 5 people and 10 people, and we'd be moving back up? All right, for those of you, where would you find, I'm just going to show you how to do this. My suggestion, because I would like you to make money. Notice I went to Education and KW Connect, and it's going to ask me to log in. Let me do this. Bye, Mike. All right, so this is where the mother lode is of Keller Williams training materials. If you were to go here, and where is it? And just type in open house, just for fun, and I have an extra MREA, Lead Generation 36123, that's this one. See all related courses, Lunch and Learn, Lead Generation, And if you download the lead generation, you're going to find an outline that looks like this for open houses. It's 64 pages long. It's got more than you ever wanted to know. More than you ever wanted to know. If you became a student of open houses, how to hold an effective open house. How about that? There are others that have suggestion, tips, training, materials, marketing, and look at Google even has 14 tips for a flawless open house. 6 ways to capture clients at an open house from Realtor magazine. Open houses that work, Realtor magazine. 8 tips for successful. 25 real estate open house ideas. 14 steps to a flawless. How to hold an open house. 13 steps. A video, 1 hour and 6 minutes. It must be one of mine. Maybe not. I actually know the guy who wrote up. I know the guy. He went to my real estate school. This guy here, right there. Anyhow, and that's where he works. Oh well. So that's where he works. He's in Cupertino. Yeah, that office has lost a whole bunch of people. But is there a lot of information on how to do open houses? Could I get better at doing open houses and keep plussing them and plussing them? All right, so tomorrow we're going to talk about something entirely different, but I don't know what it is. And we've talked about open houses, correct? Wonderful, guys. That's it, unless you have any questions.